So let's take a look at section 3.1. This is going to be on the test. And actually, I might have lied a little bit. Let me see. I got the test here. I just had it last period and I put it away. Why did I put it away? Oh, here it is, right in front of my face. Yeah, I do actually do this. Okay, so on this quiz, you need to listen, please. I'm gonna start losing people here. By losing, I mean kicking out. All right, because I'm just not going to sit here every 5 minutes and tell you to be quiet and listen to me. All right, do I have your attention now? Okay, you're going to have 3 problems. First 3 problems on the test are going to be like this. Right here, I got 4 of them, but 3 of these are going to be on the test. All right, and I give you the words. All right, right here, corresponding. I give that to you. All right, all of this, so you don't have to like memorize the words. It's kind of like a little word bank kind of thing. All right, you just got to know which one's which. You got to know which one is this one, and this one. Right here, all 4 of them are going to be used on the test. I only put 3 of them on there. All right, so let's take a look at this. This X and this Y. Which one is it? It's alternate interior because they're both inside those 2 lines. Now, we don't know that they're parallel, do we? All right, they don't have to be parallel to be able to give them a name. All right. Now, they do have to be parallel if we're going to say that they're equal to each other or something like that, okay? But right now, we're just given names. They don't really have to be parallel. But between these 2 lines, those are my interior angles. One's up here, one's in a completely different spot. That's the alternate. Okay, alternate means they're in completely different spots, but they're both interior angles. All right, so this would be alternate interior angle. All right, so we write that. I'll just shorthand it. Alternate interior angles. Number 2, let's take a look at these. These are also interior angles. Look at X and Y. They're both in between those 2 lines right there. Okay, so they're also interior angles. But are they alternate interior angles? No, because alternate would be here and here, but they are consecutive interior angles. I'll just shorten it again. Interior angles. You two, if you can't handle yourselves, you can go sit in Mr. Sack's room and laugh all you want over there. Quit blaming somebody else, Terrell. Every time I say something to you, you always seem to blame somebody else. Take responsibility for yourself, okay? Don't worry about anybody else. Let's take a look. Here we go. Shh. Just listen to me and just go on, all right? You don't have to make a ordeal about it. That'll serve you in life, okay, if you can just move on. Here we go. This X and this Y right here, they're in the same spot. Do you see these 4 angles here and these 4 angles right here? Okay, they're in the same thing. This is in the top right of this group of 4. This is in the top right of this group of 4. And they correspond to each other. They're in the same place, basically in the same place. So these are corresponding angles. I'll just shorten that. So right here, look at these 2 angles right here, X and Y. They're both on the outside of these 2 lines right here. So that means they're exterior. I only have one that's exterior, and it's alternate exterior angles. All right, so you're going to have to do that on the test. There's 3 of them, not 4 of them. So one of these is going to be left out, all right? I don't know which one. Say what? Had them up there for 5 minutes before. Corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior. All right, get them from somebody else because I got to move on. I tell you what, I actually will keep it up here because I'm going to do something with this. Now, they don't ask you to do this on the on this quiz or even on the test. But what if, everybody listen, what if this line and this line had an arrow? Like on the test, if I was to do this on the test, I think my arrows look more like a little triangle thing, like this. Okay, but if I was to write it out, I would just put like a little arrow like that. Yes, that means they're parallel to each other. Okay, if these lines, if they were parallel to each other, what do I know about both sets of alternate interior angles. What would be true about x and y if these two lines are parallel to each other? They're equal to each other, okay? So I could put or equal. I'm going to skip number 2 for a second. Corresponding angles. If these lines were parallel, if I said that this and this were parallel, what would be true about the corresponding angles? They would be equal to each other. Let's try this again. Alternate exterior angles. What if I told you that x and y were equal to each other? I'm sorry, I gave it away. What if I told you they are all, these two lines were parallel? What would be true about the alternate exterior angles? They would be equal to each other. So it looks like everything's equal, doesn't it? Well, it kind of looks like it, except for what? The consecutive interior angles. Look at this angle and this angle. They are not equal to each other. How do I know just by looking at it that they're not equal? Yeah, this is obtuse, this is acute. There's no way they're equal to each other. But if the lines were parallel to each other, there is a relationship, though. There is something that they got in common. All right, that's what I mean. There's a relationship, okay, between these two. What's true? They're not equal. What are they? Give me a good geometry word. One word. Starts with an S. Supplementary. Okay, these are supplementary. Mario, what does it mean to be supplementary? It means they add up to 180. That's right. So angle X plus angle Y is equal to 180 degrees. With me? All right. Now, the reason I went through that is because in the next little section, on the quiz and on the test, you're going to have to know that stuff. All right? So this is where we actually put it into practice. All right? I'm going to give you some information, and you got to solve for these missing angles. All right? So look at this one. It says angle 1 is 115. Here's what I would do if I were you, okay, on a quiz or on a test. Like on the test, here's the test right here. Everybody memorize it? All right? So there's the test right there. What I would do is I would write it on here. If it says angle 1 is 115, guess what I'm going to do at angle 1? I'm going to put 115 right there. Then it asks for angle 8. I'm going to put a little arc, or you could circle it or whatever. I got to find angle 8 if I know that angle 1 is 115. So what do? We look to see what kind of relationship do they have. We just talked about this. Look at this. Say it again. They're alternate exterior angles. Very good. And what did we just say about alternate exterior angles? They're equal to each other. Okay, they're equal. So if this is 115, what's angle 8? It's also 115. Okay? I'm just going to get rid of those, put a 115 right there. So that was easy, right? You just look to see the relationship, okay? If they're corresponding, then they're equal. If they're alternate interior, then they're equal. If they're alternate exterior, then they're what? Equal. But what if they were consecutive interior? Then they would be supplementary, all right? And we got to do a little work with that, which brings us to number 6. It says angle 4 is 130. So angle 4 right here, there's angle 4, that's 130. The question is, find angle 6, this angle right there. So look at the relationship. Compare them to each other, all right? Look at that angle 4, look at that angle 6. We just finished talking about that. What are they? Give me the word that they are. They're supplementary, but give me the relationship. They're consecutive, what? Interior angles. And what's true about consecutive interior angles? They add up to 180, or they're what? Supplementary, okay? So supplementary wasn't wrong when you said that, but I wanted you to know that they're consecutive interior angles. Okay, so if this is 130, how do I find angle 6? Is it the same? No, it's not the same. They add up to 180. So if I know this is 130, what do I have to do? What math do I do? That's right. I take 180 minus 130, and that gives me what? 50. And so what's angle 6? It's 50 degrees. You guys see that? That's the only time when you're going to actually have to do some math on this kind of problem, is if they are supplementary to each other. If they're equal to each other, if you know one, then you know the other one, right? Yeah, easy. Let me get rid of this. Oops. And then I got to click on this, and I got to click on this. There we go. Delete it. Here we go. Angle 3 is 60. So what am I going to do? I'm going to come up here to angle 3 and put a 60. Find angle 7. That's this angle right here. Again, we do the same thing. We look to see the relationship between them. Look at angle 3, look at angle 7. What are they to each other? They're corresponding angles. Very good. Okay, this one's in the bottom left of this group. This is in the bottom left. So they're corresponding. What's true about corresponding angles? They are equal to each other. So what's angle 7? It's 60 degrees. Easy. Okay? All right, let me get rid of this. Oops. There we go. All right, one more of these. Angle 5 is 110. Okay, that's 110 degrees. And we want to find angle 4. That's this one right here. What's the relationship between these two? They're alternate interior angles, which are equal to each other, right? So if this is 110, then what's that? That's 110 as well. Another way you could look at it, even if you didn't know the names, I mean, hopefully you do know the names of them because you got to get them right on the first 3 problems of the test, okay? But let's say you didn't know the names, but you knew how to do it. Look, angle 4 is what kind of an angle? It's bigger than 90, so it's what kind of an angle? It's obtuse. Look at angle 5. It's obtuse. So all the obtuse angles are equal to what? 110, or each other, right? But in this situation, 110. What else is equal to 110? Really quick. What else is 110 here? Angle 8 and angle 1, okay? Everything that's obtuse are the same. They don't ask you this, but what if they ask for angle 2? What if they ask for angle 2? What would that be? Give me the number. What is it? Do it in your head. 70. That's right. It's 180 minus 110, which is 70. That means every single acute angle is going to be what? 70. Make sense? So all the obtuse angles are equal to each other. All the acute angles are equal to each other. All right? And the obtuse and the acute are supplementary. Got it? Okay. Enough of that. We're going to do the same kind of thing, but now we're going to introduce a little algebra. The only math you had to do here was what? 180 minus a number, okay? But on this one, you got to do a little bit more. I got the other quiz. Move it down like that. Okay, let's do this one. Oh, I messed this up. I got to change my writing again. Well, let's just change that. There we go. All right, let's take a look. It says, find the value of what? X. We're not really finding an angle. We're just finding what x is equal to. And this is what they give you. Notice, these two lines are what? Parallel to each other. All right? I should have mentioned, I don't think I even mentioned that up here. But these two lines were parallel to each other. That's the only way that you can figure out what's equal to what, okay? But they're parallel to each other. So what's the relationship between this angle and this angle? They are equal to each other. They're both acute angles or they're both alternate interior angles. So they're equal to each other. So what do? Do I just say this is 54 and write down 54 right here? That's right. You set them equal to each other, okay? Because we're trying to find x. I'm not trying to find that angle. I'm just trying to find what x is equal to. But this angle is equal to 54. So let's write it down. 2x minus 6 equals 54. That's your geometry. That's what you had to know about this situation. The rest is just basic algebra. Let's do that quickly. Plus 6, plus 6. That cancels. 2x equals, what's that? 60. Divide both sides by 2. X is 30. And that's it. Is it 30 degrees? No, it's not an angle. They're just solving for x. Because what? 2 times 30 is what? 60. 60 minus 6 is 54. It works, doesn't it? These two angles are equal to each other now if x equals 30. You okay with this algebra? You're going to see this algebra at the beginning of the midterm. All right? It's not on the test that you're taking tomorrow, but it will be on the midterm. All right? That you're going to have to do some just straight up normal basic algebra stuff. This should be second nature to you now. We've done this so many times. All right? And we're going to do it again. No, just keep it here. Now, let's take a look at this. Look at this angle and look at this angle right here. Are they equal to each other, first of all? No, they're not. They're consecutive interior angles, which means they are supplementary. What does that mean that they're supplementary? What do we do to them if they're supplementary? What does it mean to be supplementary? They add up to 180. Okay, it's something you got to know, right? They add up to 180. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take this angle. That's one of my angles. What's my other angle? I know 62, and I add them up. See that? I add them up, and I set it equal to 180. That's the key to this problem, okay? If you can't set it up like this, there's no way you're going to be able to answer. You just maybe get super lucky and guess, but you would have to be crazy lucky to be able to guess that, all right? But what you're going to do, you're going to set it up, add them up. You know that they add up to 180, so you add them up, set them equal to 180. Now let's do some math. We got to add some like terms first. 62 and 8 is 70. Subtract a 70 from both sides. I'll do kind of quick because you should have this down by now. That cancels. This is 5x. That's 110. Divide both sides by 5. And x is 22. And that's what you put right here. It's not degrees. You're just solving for x. Anybody still awake? I got a few of you. I can see your eyeballs. Some of you, I just see your eyelids. That's all I see. All right. Here we go. Now, here's something on the quiz that's not going to be on the test. All right, but I'm going to show it to you anyway because you're going to have to use it. Now, if you look at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, that's all going to be on the test. All right, and you're going to have to know 1, 2, and 3 in order to be able to do those other ones. All right, so you got to know these formulas. Again, on the quiz, I just told you to write down the formula. On the test, I am not going to ask you to actually write down the formula. But you're going to have to know the formulas, though, to get the answers to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, so here we go. Distance. You just have to memorize it. Whoops, that's a ugly. Let me see if I can do that any better. Not much better. I always like, what do I call this before I put the X's and Y's in there? I say it all the time. Nobody ever remembers. I kind of came up with this, and you don't even like my little word here. It's the shell, right? Remember that? I call this the shell because it's just the outside of it. Now we're going to put the guts in, okay? Now we're going to put the stuff inside of it. What do I put inside of this right here? I do something with the X's. What do I do with the X's? Yeah, I subtract them. And it doesn't matter what order you put them in. I'll just put x1 minus x2. You can put x2 minus x1. It does not matter. Okay? What do I put here? If I put the x's here, what do I put here? Put the y's here. What'd you say? Divided by 2? Oh, okay. I thought you said divided by 2. And that's it. You got to memorize that. There's nothing I can do for you on the test if you don't have this memorized. Okay? You have to have it memorized. Write it down 10 times, 12 times, 20 times until you memorize it. Okay? Whatever it takes. All right? I'm not going to give it to you on the test. It's not going to be up there where you can just look at it and say, oh, that's the distance formula. No, you got to know it. Let's do another one. Let's do midpoint. Midpoint is a what? I just underlined it. Midpoint is a what? Point. Thank you. I thought that would be easy. Just underlined it. Oh, goodness. All right. So it's a point. So I write it as an ordered pair. It's mid. So I'm finding the middle. How do I find the middle? I divide it by 2. All right. So that's how I started off. Okay. Every time I write midpoint, that's what I do first. And now I can fill it in. Now I got to do something with the x's. What do I do with the x's on midpoint? I add them together. That's right. This time I add them. It's only distance and slope I subtract as well. Okay, midpoint's the only one, where I add them together. So obviously if I do that to the x's, what do I do to the y's? Do the same thing. And again, it doesn't matter if I go y2 plus y1. It does not matter. Because if I take two numbers, add them in a different order, it doesn't make any difference, does it? No. All right. That's my midpoint formula. There it is. That's the answer to that. Slope. We've been doing slope quite a bit here lately, so you should have that thing memorized. And if you don't, you got to. All right? I don't know what to tell you. All right? You can't look at me and say, well, I'm just not good at math. No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with you being able to study, write it down, and remember a few things. You don't have to be good at math to be able to write these down. So at least be able to write them down, at the very, very least. All right, here we go. What do I put on top? The y's, right. And usually we go y2 minus y1. I could have gone y1 minus y2, but what would I have to do on the bottom? I got to keep them in the same order, right? So if I go y2 minus y1, I have to do what? I got to go x2 minus x1, okay? Or if you wanted to, you could go y1 minus y2. That'd be okay. But what do you have to do to the bottom, though? That's right, x1 minus x2. Okay? We usually use this one, don't we? All right, it's kind of what they do in the book. You guys kind of seem to be okay with just doing it this way, so that's what we're going to do. Now, I wrote them down. Now let's put them into practice. This is what you're going to have to do on the test. Right on the quiz, I have two of these. I have two distance ones. On the test, I'm only going to put one distance one on there, okay? And same thing with midpoint. There's only going to be one midpoint and only going to be one slope. Everybody got that? All right, so let's do it. Let's actually use this distance formula and see how it works. It looks a little intimidating, but once you actually start putting the numbers in and start working it out, it's not near as bad as what it looks like at first. I promise you, it's not. So I write down the shell. Oh, that's a plus. Okay? Everybody with me on that? Everybody can do that, right? And now we just fill it in. Fill it in, we subtract the x's from each other. So which ones are my x's? Here's my 2 points. Which ones are my x's? 6 and 2. So I subtract 6 minus 2. And then I do the y's. 4 and 1, 4 minus 1. Super easy. If you have it memorized, correct? Well, you do. I'm not done. But that's my first step. Everybody got that? Okay, let's do it. Now, let's do a couple steps in our head. Okay, 6 minus 2. What's that? You can do that in your head. By the way, let's put a square root here. 6 minus 2 is 4, but then what are we going to do to that 4? We're going to square it, which means multiply by itself. So 4 squared is 16. Good. Let's do the same thing over here. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 squared is 9. What's 16 plus 9? 25. Do we just leave it like that? No, this is one number that actually comes out to a nice even number. What is the square root of 25? What number times itself, what number times the same number equals 25? 5 does. Okay, so it's equal to 5. Is it the square root of 5? No, it's just what? The number 5. Everybody got that? So if it comes out where it comes out to a whole number, you need to write it as that whole number. Does every square root come out to a whole number? No. Okay. In fact, there are very few that come out to a whole number. All right. On this, you should be able to do that in your head. No. If it doesn't come out to a whole number, just keep it inside the square root. You don't have to put it into a calculator. In fact, this one right here is going to do that. It's going to come out where it doesn't come out to a whole number. We're just going to keep it inside the square root. All right, so let's do this one. Now we kind of get the idea of what we're doing here. So distance equals, put the shell. Let's fill it in. Subtract the x's. I got a 2 and a negative 4. So it's 2 minus negative 4. Don't forget both of those minuses, okay? This is because it's x1 minus x2, and this is because it's a negative 4. Let's do the y's. Negative 5 minus what? Negative 8. Okay? Square root. Let's do this. Minus a negative. What's minus a negative? Positive. What's 2 plus 4? 6. What's 6 squared? 6 times itself. 36. Right. It's not 6 times 2. Everybody hear that? It's not 6 times 2. It's 6 times itself. 6 times 6, which is 36. Plus, let's figure this out. Oh, there's a lot of negatives going on. But what can I do with the 2 in the middle? Goes to plus, doesn't it? Negative 5 plus 8 is 3. Just plain old 3. It's negative 5 plus 8, which means when they're different signs, you subtract the two numbers, take the sign of the larger. All right, so that would be a 3. Now, what am I doing to that 3? Multiplying it by itself or squaring it. So what's 3 times 3? 9. Okay. Add those two up. What do you get? 45. Does that come out to a whole number? Is there a number times itself that equals 45?
Nope.
No. All right. So what do? Leave it like that. Circle it. Leave it like that. Okay. Everybody okay with distance? Like I said, it looks intimidating when you first see it, doesn't it? Looks crazy. You got that big old square root there. Like, oh, what's up with that? But really, right here, did the square root even come into play here? It really didn't. All right, we didn't have to do anything with that. Here we did. We had to take the square root of 25. But here, we just left it, square root of 45. No biggie. All right, let's keep going. Did we already do the first? Yeah, we already did the first quiz, didn't we? What's all this mess? Oops. Let's try this again. All right, there we go. All right, let's do midpoint. Now, it's up above the screen, but if you wrote it down, it's probably right in front of you. So the midpoint is equal to, remember, it's a point, so it's an ordered pair. And it's mid, so I always divide by 2. That's the first thing I write down every single time I do one of these problems. And now, what do we do to the x's up here? Do we subtract this time? We add them, okay? So we add the x's. The first one, 4 and 6, we add them together, 4 plus 6. And now we add the y's. I got an 8 and a 2, so it's 8 plus, oops, let's try this again, 8 plus 2. And then we simplify it. Really easy to simplify. 4 plus 6 is 10 over 2. 8 plus 2 is 10 over 2. Simplify it. 10 divided by 2 is 5, comma what? 5. Put them in parentheses. All right, it's a point. You always put points in parentheses and a comma in between, and that is your answer. Let's do another one. Still a little faster. Over 2, over 2. Add the x's, negative 2 plus negative 6. Remember, you're adding this time. Midpoint, you add the x's and the y's. All the other ones, right, the slope and the distance, you subtract the x's and the y's. What do we do here? Do the y's. What do I got? I got a 5 plus what? Negative 3. Okay, let's do this. Negative 2 plus negative 6. It's negative 8. You got to know how to add those together. Over 2. 5 plus negative 3. It's just a 2. Positive 2 over 2. Simplify that. Negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. And then 2 over 2 is 1. And there you go. You got to practice them though, okay? At the very least, watch the video, put the problem up there before I solve it, pause the video, you solve it, and then see what the answer is, okay? That's a good way to review. Now, the numbers on the test could be different. They could be the same. Some might be the same, some might be different. Maybe they're all different, okay? But the style of problem is exactly what we're doing today, all right? So there should be no complaints about, well, I didn't know how to do this or whatever. Let me drop this down so I can see the last problem. Okay, here we go, one more of these. Slope. Oops, wanted to go to black, I know why. Let's go back to red. Let's make that like that. Let's change that to this, okay. All right, slope. We wrote it down earlier. It's just a fraction. What do we put on top? Subtract the what? Subtract the y's. And again, it doesn't matter what order, but I think we're kind of used to going the second one minus the first one, so let's do it that way. So what am I subtracting? 7 minus what? 3, because they're both my y's. Do you see it? This is the y here, this is the y here, so I go 7 minus 3. Now I subtract the x's on the bottom. 3 minus 1. That's 4 over 2, which is 2, piece of cake. Easy, easy, easy. Let's do another one. Slope equals. Do the same thing. Subtract the y's and put them on top. This time it's 3 minus what? 0. And now it's -1 minus 5. That's easy. That's 3. -1 minus 5 is the same as plus a negative. That would be negative what? 6. What's that come out to be? -1/2. Did I do that right? Yeah. There's that. All right, we got time for another one. Now, for some reason, I just noticed this last period. For some reason, I put this on a 3-4, section 3-4 quiz, but I think this is from section 3-5. But that's okay. 3-5 is going to be on there anyway. You remember having this on that 3-5 quiz? This is a little different, though. This problem's not exactly the same, but it's close. What's that? Yeah, it's got different numbers. Yeah, and the AB. On the other one, it said AD, I think, right? And BC or something like that. All right, so on this one, AB. Here's my line, AB. I got to figure out, are these two lines, is AB and CD, are they parallel? Are they perpendicular? Are they neither? Let's use these markers again. I always got them right here. So watch. If they're parallel, they look like this. So what do I know specifically about these lines? Okay, they don't touch each other, I get it, but tell me something about the line itself or something within the line. They have the same slope. That's exactly right. So these two lines right here that are parallel, they have the same slope. What if these two lines are perpendicular? What would be true about their slopes now? Okay, negative reciprocals of each other. And if neither one of those are true, then you would put neither. So let's see. So we're going to compare the slopes. So what are we going to do? We're going to find the slope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anybody else want to go to sleep? Got 6. Oh my goodness. That's all right. It's not like we're having a test tomorrow or anything on this, right? I don't know. I don't get it. Just seems like you would try harder to stay awake. But if you're not going to, that's your problem, not mine. Here we go. Let's find the slope of AB. I'm going to put slope. I'll put a little AB right there so I know which slope I'm finding. So here's my 2 points. Let's find the slope. I just finished doing that, right? We just got done doing a slope problem. So let's subtract the y's from each other. So it's what? 2 minus 4. Subtract the x's from each other. 3 minus -3. 2 minus 4 is -2. Minus a negative is plus. That's a 6. That's -1/3. All right? So that's the slope of this line right here. Now what I got to do is I got to compare that to this. So now I got to find the slope of CD. So I'll put a little slope, put CD, and let's find the slope of CD. Where is CD? It's this one right here. Okay? So I take those 2 points, subtract the y's, subtract the x's. Let's subtract the y's. -3 minus what? Whoops, I lied. -3 minus -4. Not 4, but -4. And then subtract the x's. I got -2 minus 1. All right? Let's do the math. Add these up. Right? -3 plus 4 is 1. This is, add the opposite. That's -3. What's -1/3 and 1/-3? Is it the same thing? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, they're the same exact thing. These two are equal to each other. So if the slopes are equal to each other, what kind of lines are these two lines? They are parallel to each other. All right? And that's how you find if they're parallel or not. Okay, I'm looking at the test. I actually did not put this on the test. I should have. Why didn't I? Let me see. 20. There's always 20. Yeah, I did not put this on the test, but it's always good to know. All right. You are going to have something that deals with. Actually, nope, I didn't put that on there either. The rest of it is section 3.5, okay? And we went over 3.5 on Friday. It's on YouTube. It's uploaded. It's up there, okay? So 3.1, 3.4, and 3.5. That's what's going to be on the test. Everybody got it? 3.1, 3, 4. I don't know what happened to 2 and 3. I think we skipped one of them, and then one of them, it kind of blended into the other one. I don't know. So that's what's going to be on the test. And the test is when? Tomorrow. Okay, very good. Any questions on this? All right. Please put some time and effort into it. Unlike the ones that are falling asleep in my class right now, the way I figure, if you're falling asleep right now in my class, you're not going to put any extra time into it. It's just frustrating. Man, I want you to do well. Can you tell? Can you tell that I want you to do well? I'm not like griping and whining and complaining because, I want you to fail. I'm doing that because I get frustrated with you guys sleeping, and I get frustrated with you not doing what you're supposed to do because I know you could do so much better, and I want more for you. I want the best for you guys. And some of you guys just aren't taking advantage of it, okay? I don't know if it's actual just laziness and lack of whatever to stay awake, or if you maybe have a physical problem. If you got a physical problem, go to a doctor, okay? Or if you don't get enough sleep, then go to bed earlier, okay? Stop playing your video games till 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? Is that what the problem is? Probably. For some of you guys it is, all right? You got to go to bed early, all right? Stay awake in your classes. I know it's a little dark in here, and I did turn the heat up a little bit, and it's a little bit warm. Some of you guys still have your coats on, even though it's kind of warm in here. But I don't know. I just want the best for you guys. I want you to do well on this. And I just get frustrated because it just looks like you're not trying your hardest. Some of you are, okay? When I keep saying this, I got to remind myself. Some of you guys definitely are trying hard, and I can tell you're staying awake, you're writing stuff down, you're doing your homework, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. So I always forget about that. Sometimes we have a tendency to forget about the ones that are doing what they're supposed to do and just harp on the ones that aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So I appreciate you guys that are working hard in here, and it shows up in your grades, okay? The guys that are doing really well in here and getting good grades are usually the ones that are staying awake, the ones that are writing stuff down, the ones that are studying, the ones that are watching the videos every once in a while. Keep it up. That's all I got to say. Keep it up. You will know by Thursday morning, probably later Wednesday night, but I won't see you Wednesday night, obviously. But I'll see you Thursday morning, and I will let you know whether you have to take the midterm or not. Okay. Remember, you had to average an A the first and second marking period. Okay. So if you average an A for the first marking period and second marking period, then you don't have to take the midterm. I have to grade your test, though, first to decide if you fall in those ranges or not. Everybody good? Okay, that's all I got. No homework. Just study, study, study.